Is it just me, or is this the most awkward set of reveals for Love is Blind ever? Very awkward. Cheryl here from the Rogers Review, and we are back with more commentary about our favorite reality show, Love is Blind, Season 7, set in our lovely Washington, D.C., the city that they have ruined. They have ruined with our hopes and our dreams of lovely couples. I admit I have seen the episodes that are currently available. I realized I kind of like had to take a step back from the outrage that I had. I had to kind of follow the storylines a little bit further before commentating on it because, you know, some of these couples are really presented in a way that the producers are telling a specific story, and it seems like this season leading up to the proposals, they've shown a few tough discussions about things like family, medical issues, owning up to cheating allegations. But supposedly the couples all work through it and it's a happy proposal and everyone is so in love and they're ready to go on their honeymoon and get married. And we know from previous seasons that that's not what happens. It ends up being a dumpster fire. I was prepared for the worst. I was prepared for the worst. And right now there's one couple that I am really, really rooting for. I am team nerd love. The nerds, the geeks, you know who I'm talking about, Garrett and Taylor. I am 1000% on their side, and I hope they make it all the way through and are living their best lives together because they're just lovely. From what has been shown so far on the show, I am 1000% in on their relationship. Being a weird interloper into their experience, I'm on their side. I really, really hope that it ends up on the good things. We'll see how that goes. And here we've got Garrett waiting, awkwardly hopeful. We've got Taylor on the other side of that door. Look at their arms. Their arms when they were initially hugging, it was like, what do I do? Does the arm go here? Do I like angle out because I've not seen you before? I've not touched you before. What do I do? Both of them were kind of having that awkward situation, and I was here for it. And we've got the smiles. He's going down on one knee and he makes a comment. He doesn't even know what knee to get down. They smiled. The smiles seemed genuine. They walked forward with enthusiasm, but not like overly enthusiastic. They appear to have some good chemistry. They are like, look at that face. Look at that face. It is, they seem like they are having a good time. And there's some mutual attraction there. And I'm really rooting for these two. I really am. It's adorable. They are really appear to be savoring the moment, and it's enjoyable just to watch the two of them meet for the first time. It really is. And I'm kind of glad it got caught on camera. I'm not normally a fan of these, reality shows and capturing everything on camera, but in this case, I think it's adorable. And with this couple, they did have a slight hiccup where I was very worried in the previous episodes where she accidentally made a comment which brought up the fact that her ethnicity, she's half white and half something else, and she was kind of being a little bit reserved in how she wanted to explain it to him. And I really think for her, the personality that we see on screen, she just really wanted to be all in on this as an experiment. We know it's not a true experiment, but she really wanted to approach this with a deliberate manner in how she was explaining her interests, avoiding what she looked like, kind of making that mental connection. And he kind of, with his personality, he just was thinking about it and he thought about it a little too much in depth. And, the two of them were able to communicate and talk it out and kind of work through, explain how they were feeling, what the other person made them feel, and they kind of were able to talk with each other and work through that situation. So I'm really glad that they were able to get through that, and we have a proposal that I am really happy about. And I know with some of these couples, they seem really good at the beginning and then it's revealed later on. So I really, really hope there's nothing like in in the secrets for these two because I'm rooting for them. I'm really rooting for them. We do have a few love triangles this season, and one of the things going back to my first kind of reaction that I posted here, one thing I want to walk back a little bit is when I'm saying, to one of the men or women on this show to pick somebody or another, it's funny how we get tied in and our emotions get tied into this show because the reality of the fact is that you don't have to pick one of these two people. You can walk away. And it seems like this season, there's a few contestants that went into this experiment, didn't make any connections, and they decided to leave. That is exactly what you can do. You don't have to make a choice between this person or that person. You are not restricted to just the people you are talking to in the pods. So I had to remind myself of that when I was like rooting for one person, whether it was Hannah and Leo or Hannah and Nick or this guy who I forgot his name because I I I have trouble keeping track of all the people on the show. It's very confusing. Maybe I'll get it right by the end of the season. But Marissa's kind of in a love triangle situation with Ramses. That's his name. I'm like, wait a minute, I just almost forgot his name. He's going back and forth. The other guy has a military background, grew up in Ukraine, went back to Ukraine when everything happened. And, there were some really good conversations to be had there. Seemed like they had very good chemistry as well. But Marissa also seemed to have good chemistry with Ramsey. So it's difficult to see what the better choice would be. But again, it's not a choice between two people. Like you have an entire dating pool. You don't need to have pick A or pick B. This is real life. You can walk away. There are other soulmates, there are other people, there are other partners that you could maybe get to know and might be a better match. You are not restricted to just the dating pool that this show has put together because clearly the show does not vet people properly. I know some of the rumors behind the scenes of what was happening when they were trying to cast for this show, and I have zero confidence in how they are actually picking people, putting them on the show, and whether they would be good matches for people or not. Even Married at First Sight, which did have a season in Washington D.C. That's like the second time I watched that show, is I was curious what the D.C. version would be. But they claim to have experts who will match you up. And the way they go about it, I'm just like, these people have no idea what they're doing. No idea. So why would you go on a show and be like, yes, of the 15 people I am with and of that I am dating, someone's going to be my perfect match. It's not. That's not the case. And so you may make a connection. One or two couples each season seems to work it out and get together and maybe are still married today, but it's not necessary. If you're not feeling it, if you've got a gut feeling, if it's not working out, just walk away. Walk away. So the other thing I want to go back to, I don't think I talked about it earlier, but with Taylor and Garrett, I really loved it. Was a funny conversation of when are you going to ask me to be your girlfriend? He asks her, and then she kind of is playfully like, "You've got some time, you got some work before I'll say yes." And it reminded me a bit of those middle school crushes because it also, they're back in the women's quarter later, and he remembered that she loves sunflowers, so he got her not just flowers, but he got her some lovely flowers that caught her attention. And it came with a handwritten note of, some flowery words. And it says, "Will you be my girlfriend? Check yes or no." And it reminded me so much of like that middle school crush feeling. And you could see her getting a little bit giddy. And she's prepared. She came to this experiment with all of the tools in her toolbox. So Not only does she respond the way he wants, by checking off, yes, I'll be your girlfriend, but she adds her own personal touch to it with, I believe it's a heart on perfume, and it was adorable. We have the benefit of seeing them on camera, and so we see them smiling when they're chatting with each other. Obviously, the person they're talking to doesn't, because they're separated by the wall, because that's the entire point of this show and the experiment. We get to see them smiling, and it's just fun. I love it. And the two of them are just really cute together. So I am 1000% rooting for those two. Okay. I have a question. How much do the producers talk to the contestants throughout this process? Because it seems like whenever a guy is proposing to a girl, there's a wonderful bouquet of flowers in her room. And I'm like, is that kind of giving it away that, hey, the person you're talking to is going to propose to you? Here's some flowers ready for you to swoop up in your arms and be like, yes, I'll marry you. Or, is it just the expectation because they've made it out to, like, what is it, 10 days in the pods? So with those 10 days in the pods, the expectation is the guy will be proposing. And so there's flowers here and there's no real surprise. I'm kind of curious about that. I really am. Because it seemed like after the first few proposals, if you saw that bouquet in the corner of the room or even in the center in front of their couches, you're like, proposal's coming. I see how this is going. When the doors first open, he has a smile. She almost has a grimace on her face, and then she turns it into a smile pretty quickly. And they hug, quick kiss. I don't know. And she's slow walking, holding her hands, kind of an awkward hug. But she's leaning back and she also like touches his chin, which forces a little bit of distance there. And she takes a few steps back. She takes a few steps back. But at the same time, when he's down on his knee and he's holding the ring out like this, she is excited. And once that ring is slipped onto her finger, she kind of has that enthusiasm and she's like, I have a fiance. I'm gonna get married. She keeps looking at the ring. She's a little giggly. We'll see. They have to spend some time together. She is looking at him and looking into his eyes, and they are bantering a little bit back and forth while keeping eye contact. So I think she's feeling it a little bit more. And their legs are touching. She is holding his hand with two of hers, so that's a positive sign right there. And she's leaning in. I think I'm a little bit more positive about this than I was at the beginning. She's surprised a little bit about the beard. We'll see how that goes. Her when he sees her in person. He seems to be smiling, but her eyes are shifting. Her eyes are shifting left and shifting right, and she's like, I'm gonna paste a smile on my face. The hug is a little nice. Some of your statements, be in love with it. Like, do you even have a person? It would hurt if she took time to think about it and say, I'm not ready to be married yet. Monica, you're nervous. I mean, I would be nervous, getting proposed to by someone I had never met in real life and only like had conversations with for less than 2 weeks. Like, that's crazy. Again, it is crazy, the premise of this show. So she seems pretty focused when the doors open. He starts jogging and runs forward. It's a nice hug. She has a big smile on her face. She's gently putting her hands on his cheeks, caressing, pulling him in. She seems to be pretty handsy, but in a gentle way of like, she's like, are you real? Let me make sure this is real. He's looking at her in an appreciative manner and helping her sit down, or kneeling. He's kneeling down to give her the ring, putting it on. She seems very happy. He brought her a shirt off his back. Why? That must have been a follow-on conversation from something, because like he brought her a shirt that smells of him so she can take it with her. That's weird. That's a little bit like, no other guy in season of Love is Blind has been like, let me give you this thing that smells of me so you can sleep with her, whispering like, I don't want to be filmed. We're here. This is weird. They seem to have some sort of initial attraction. She's taking the compliments and is spinning around for him, and he's looking at her with dazed eyes. And then she, of course, is like, I need to look at the ring. This is really happening. She asks him to give her a twirl. He's posing in a weird, oh my God, he's posing in strange ways. Somebody in the comments in the fashion, do his clothes fit properly? It looks maybe it's the way he was posing is throwing me off, but now he's sucking face and grabbing her hair. Like, seriously, do not grab hair of women that you just meet. And he mentions that she tastes good. They definitely are sucking face. But as far as like hands all over each other, he's got his hands on her cheeks, but like, I don't know, it's kind of passively accepting the kiss. Okay, enough kissing. I do not need the kissing noises. Okay, we're good. We're good with that. Thank you. We got Alex and we've got Tim. I almost forgot about them. Kind of skipped over coming back, but it's Alex and Tim. Of the women on the season, she's a little bit heavier than most of the others, so she's a little bit concerned about that fact. He seems happy. He looks happy. She may be overwhelmed, disbelieving. She's giving him a good old hug, though, and he's hugging her back. The big bear hug, the bear hug. And when they take a step back, they're looking at each other. They're like still interacting with each other. Did he just like slip a ring on her finger? Didn't drop down to one knee, didn't like take a pause. He just like, let me quietly just stick it on there. She seems a little bit like overwhelmed, like she might be in a little bit of a dream. But initially they seem to be having some mutual attraction and not too much awkwardness. They're staring into each other's eyes, smiling, giggling. He's holding her a little bit and she's leaning into it. She's going through combing her hair with her hands. So she's definitely nervous. She's in a nervous state. He seems a little bit more calm. He walks her back to the women's area, the gentleman, with a quick or not so quick goodbye. Not so quick goodbye. They're having fun. Seems to be a little bit more involved. He's maybe a little bashfully attracted. But when she is hugging him on her face at first, it just seems like deep breath. What did I do? And not, am I happy for this proposal? I'm going to stand here. Is this happening? Yes, it is happening, Hannah. It's what are you going to do with it? I guess for the show, you accept the proposal. You've already accepted the proposal, so you're kind of like on that path. You might as well see how things go on the honeymoon phase. But when she first saw him, she pasted a smile on her face and eyes shifted left, eyes shifted right, and she continued walking forward. So that's happening. There are a few kisses. So maybe there's a little bit there. Maybe some things could work out when they're sitting on the bench, kind of putting a little bit of distance and leaning away from him. They're not like leaning into each other, putting as much leg to leg, arm to arm, hand to hand. They're not doing that. He's smiling a bit at the beginning. I think he is perfectly fine with her. He is happy. I don't think she's into him. And I think she's like, I am on this roller coaster. I am strapped in. I can't get off until this is over. That's where I think she's at. She is definitely putting space between them when they are chatting. Brittany, memorable moment. She refers to herself as a cartoon character. Oh, Brittany. Brittany, what do we do with you? We find you a husband so you can be the trophy wife you always want to be. And now we have what I think is the most awkward second proposal, because they already proposed in the pods. This is them getting down on one knee with the ring, actually seeing the person. So, secondary proposal, I'll call it. I think this is the most awkward one in Love is Blind history. I haven't seen all the international ones, but of the US ones, I think this is the most awkward one. He is 1000% into it. She is deer in the headlights. What the hell have I gotten myself into? He is smiling a little bit. Oh, nope, nope. She does the side eye thing. She brings her hands up and her eyes go to the left. She's like, oh dear. And her hands are down and this hug. Oh my God, watching this again. She is kind of leaning away from him. She is leaning back from him. And then he's talking to her or he's biting her neck. Like she's trying to get away from him, I think. And then they don't sit at the bench. He follows her into the women's area. And again, she is leaning away from him. He's trying to like move in closer to her. And at the same time, she is backing away in a pretty way. She is backing away from him, leaning back. And then he grabs like her hair, the back of her neck. Like again, it's one of those things where like don't pet her and hold her by her hair. You just met this woman and that is weird. You're not giving her the space to control her own body, and it makes me feel a certain way when I'm watching this again. And so now she has nowhere to retreat because he has followed her into her space, the women's space. He has followed her. How does she say, yes, I've met you, I've accepted your proposal, this is great. Now please let's depart. And she's trying to lean back on the couch and get away from him, and he is holding her again. How is she supposed to leave? How does she get him to leave? Gracefully. Because when you're having these kinds of conversations with men, like you have to do it gracefully because otherwise, men can turn on a dime and you can be in a situation that you didn't anticipate, but she's kind of forced to talk to him at this point, and he is having his hands all over her. And oh, let me be a gentleman and give you my jacket because you're cold. And as he puts the jacket around her, he is scooching forward to get back into her space. If you're a guy, do not do this. Do not do this. Do not crowd a woman. Do not keep putting your hands on her when she is clearly not comfortable. Spoiler alert, Brittany and Leo did not go to Mexico. So bye-bye. Apparently they went on a trip to Miami, tried to hang out a little bit, see if there was still sparks and attraction and mutual compatibility, and that did not work out either. So that is the end of their love story as far as I know at this moment. We'll see if that changes with any drama from the reunion that gets exposed. I wouldn't put it past them. I really would not put it past them, but I don't think so. I wouldn't be surprised. Marissa and Ramsey. I still like his style. I like that he has some personality with his style. I think they have genuine smiles and genuine reactions to seeing each other for the first. They're taking each other in. They are both mutually hugging each other, having smiles, looking each other in the eyes. They can't even really let go of their hands. They're like attached to each other, and if they pull apart a little bit, they're like, wait, come back. Let me give you a smooch. You can't leave too far. Come back. And so the two of them together seem to be attracted to each other, which is a good sign. And they're both leaning in at the bench. Their knees, their legs are touching. They're still holding hands. Did he even propose at this point? Or are they still too into each other? So they're smiling, they're looking each other in the eyes, eye to eye, which can be awkward when you don't know the person. And they're admitting to how they feel, whether they were nervous or not, excited. They just really wanted to meet in person, see each other, and not from like a physical seeing. They just wanted to like be together in the same room and enjoy each other's company for real. Look at how close they're like enmeshed together. And both of them. She's a little bit more bubbly and outgoing, it seems, but he is reciprocating. And he can't take his eyes off of her. Talking about babies, maybe going a little bit too fast, maybe put a little bit of a back. Are definitely, I guess, attracted to each other because they're kissing. They can't let each other out of their sight. This is both a mutual. This is not somebody invading another person's space like we kind of saw with Leo. And oh, see, I was right. I was right. Watching it a second time, I was right. They forgot. They forgot. He hadn't even gotten down on one knee and given her the ring yet. You saw how some of the other couples, their attitude changed when they had a ring on their finger. Her attitude, like they forgot. They forgot that he had it like actually done that secondary proposal. She didn't even have a ring on her finger. They were just so excited to see each other. I hope these two make it through. It's a compressed time frame. It's a weird situation. Production likes to cause drama by putting people in the same room together, and she was involved with the love triangle that we've seen. So I'm a little bit worried what might be contrived to put a wedge between the two of them. Love is Blind makes things awkward. That is true. That is 1000% accurate.